In this video, let's talk about the second paradoxical problem. So let's use the same report which lists yearly sales. This time I want to see cumulative sales figure. So why don't you pause the video and take a moment to calculate this cumulative sales figure. Here is the report with the answers. Was it hard for you? You would say it was very easy. It is still hard for the database to do it. Why? You might be already smiling. It's the same reason. So we are accessing previous record. Yes, you're spot on. The difference here is we are not just asking for one previous record, but we are asking for all the previous records from the first record all the way up to the current record. As we move to each new cell, we are taking on more and more values. For each cell, we are collecting a set of previous values and adding them up, really, right? So if giving one single previous record was difficult for the database, think about how much it would be, difficult it would be for the databases to give this whole bunch and to do all this arithmetic. That's what this paradox 2 is about. It's taking the first problem and really putting it on steroids. So what we are doing here is a plain simple cumulation that we all know. I mean, there's nothing rocket science here. That's why this is a paradox. This is something that we find it very easy to do, but the databases are not finding it easy. So let's give this problem a name, a different name. So what's a good name? Take a moment to reflect. The name really pops out, cumulation problem. We have mentioned this, right? So what I was thinking was, let's come up with another name, a more tongue-in-cheek name. So if you're pressed for time or if you're a more serious person, I would suggest you quit the video. You won't lose anything. If you're looking for some fun, so follow me. So do you know Steve Jobs? You might be asking me, what? Everybody knows Steve Jobs. So have you listened to his Stanford speech about connecting the dots? If you have not, I would suggest no matter who you are, I think this can be a great speech. I mean, this is a speech that I find it to be very inspiring personally. So in this speech, Steve Jobs talks about his early days in Stanford, where he actually dropped out of the school, joined some drawing classes, not really knowing what he was doing. Later, he was connecting all these previous events and then saying all of these events led to the creation of the beautiful fonts on the Mac. So that's the speech about connecting the dots. So now let me ask you this question. What's the relationship between Steve Jobs and Tableau? Do you know this? Do you know this man? He's Professor Pat Hanrahan. He's the chief scientist as well as a co-founder of Tableau. So there was a time Steve Jobs was thrown out of his own company, Apple, and he founded his next venture, Pixar. And this professor and Steve Jobs worked together in that company to create the first 3D movie, really. So that's connecting the dots between Steve Jobs and Tableau. In this problem, what we are trying to do is we are connecting the dots between the current cell and the previous cell. So can we give this name, connecting the dots problem? Sorry if you're a serious person and you don't like these kind of play with words, but I just find it to be a little bit more refreshing. So let's summarize this. Like the previous problem that we dealt with, looking at peer comparison, which is a very instinctive thing for us. This time, looking at figures cumulatively is another instinctive thing that we all do. So look at the common things that a business person deals with: year-to-date sales, quarter-to-date sales, month-to-date sales, and even more complicated things like moving average, which is used in the stock market much more often. So they are nothing but a variation of this problem. We are collecting the whole set of values or a window of values, and rather than summing them up, we are just doing an average. That's the connecting the dots problem. Let's summarize what we have seen of the paradoxical problem so far. Two problems we have seen. The similarity between the two is we are talking about accessing previous values. In the first case, we focused on a single previous value. In this case, we are talking about a whole window of previous values. And you might be already tired of all these previous values. You might ask, can we talk about something else? Yes, let's take this conversation to the next level.